I'll now ask the town clerk to come forward and read the warrant.
Warrant for the special town meeting Tuesday, October 27, 2015, 7 o'clock p.m. To either of the constables in the town of Freetown greeting, in the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Freetown who are qualified to vote in town affairs to meet in Freetown Elementary School Auditorium, 43 Bullock Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts, the 27th day of October 2015, at 7 o'clock p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at the following places: the Sonnet Post Office, East Freetown Post Office, the stores of Quick Pick in East Freetown, Junior's Convenience Store, and Freetown Town Hall, and the Freetown Communications Center. Hereof fail not to make return of the original warrant with your doings thereon, immediately after making service thereof, to the town clerk of the town of Freetown, Massachusetts, given under our hands and seal of the town of Freetown, this 9th day of October, Anno Domini 2015, signed by the Board of Selectmen. To the town clerk, town of Freetown, Massachusetts, October 13, 2015. I have this day posted attested copies of this warrant in the designated places described herein. Signed, Carlton E. Abbott, Constable.
Okay, folks, just so that you know, Articles 2 through 9 on the warrant will be funded through free cash. And other than that, we'll get started. Article 1. For Article 1, at this time, I would like to ask for a motion to waive the reading of the charts.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to waive the reading of the charts. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted unanimously. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 10 of the town's general bylaws, personnel classification and compensation plan by replacing the current chart set forth in section 10.9 of said Article 10 with the new chart as set forth below, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt Article 1 as read. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 1 is adopted unanimously. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $6,348.00 for fiscal year 2016 for the purpose of funding the personnel costs associated in the change of the Article 10.9 personnel classification and compensation plan chart as listed. Animal Control Officer personnel budget, $940. Board of Health personnel budget, $1,421. Building personnel budget, $1,533. Council on Aging personnel budget, $793. Library personnel budget, $445. Fire Department personnel budget, $885. Town Clerk Primary and Elections personnel budget, $96. Town Clerk Registrar's personnel budget, $16. Police Lockup Attendant personnel budget, $15. Veterans Agent personnel budget, $165. Emergency Management Agency personnel budget, $39. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen.
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 2 as read. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 2 is adopted unanimously. For Article 3, for Article 3, we will be voting on the Finance Committee's recommendation, just like we do at the annual town meeting. If you disagree with the recommendation of the Finance Committee, just call out hold and we'll come back to that line. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,769.00 necessary to supplement the budgets and revise the annual salary of the following elected officers of the town, as provided by Chapter 41, Section 108 of the General Laws, as amended for the fiscal year 2016, and/or take any action relative thereto. For the town clerk, current salary, $49,895 per year. Requested salary, $51,392 per year. Finance Committee recommends $50,644 per year. Amount to be raised, $749. Highway Surveyor, current salary, $62,719 per year. Requested salary, $64,600.57 per year. Finance Committee recommends $63,660 per year. Amount to be raised, $941. Tree Warden, current salary, $20.18 per hour. Finance Committee recommends $20.48 per hour. Amount to be raised, $79. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Requires a 2/3 vote. We have the
Motion made to adopt as read.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the article as read, and that's the Finance Committee's recommended numbers. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, Charles Sullivan, 46 High Street. I see where the pay here for the town clerk, as recommended, is $50,644. And I look back here on the sheet of the charts, and I see the Board of Health agent is to get, starting at $33.62. And the building commissioner is to get $36.33. And the director of the Council on Aging and library director were corresponding. They all get more than the town clerk. Why is that?
It's the contracts that have been negotiated.
No, that's not. The chart was adjusted by the rate of compensation that was awarded to most of the employees in the town of Freetown. That chart was an established chart. The town clerk, the highway surveyor, and tree warden are elected positions, and usually the individual that's elected can make a request, which they did. They made a request that was higher than what was recommended by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee.
Okay, but the town clerk is the primary elected official of the town, correct? You have to have a town clerk.
You have to have a Board of Selectmen, too.
Well, you don't have to have a board of selectmen. You can have a town meeting do it. But here are people who are other department heads, and they're getting more than she is. They're getting more than the highway surveyor is getting. Why is that?
Just make a motion to change it, Charles.
Okay.
Actually,
Well, that's my question. What was your reasoning? What was it? What's your reasoning?
The 1.5%.
We did a 1.5% increase
we did it.
for everyone.
Can you hear me, Charlie?
Yes.
We did a 1.5% cost of a COLA for everybody, and that's how we did this. And truthfully, I hear what you're saying, and I also understand what Jackie's needs are and what Chuck's needs are. But the way to do this the right way, and maybe this is something that the board needs to look into, is to actually do a comparable to what all town clerks in the area make. And most of them are appointed now, they're not elected. And the same thing with the highway surveyor, and make it comparable. Because right now, we're all shooting in the wind. We don't really know, and until we have a better grasp on what they should make, maybe we're overpaying them, maybe they're way underpaid. But we've done a comparable with all the other departments, so maybe it's time to do a comparable with the town clerk and the highway surveyor.
Well, I think you can do that fairly quickly. And my question is, why hasn't that been done?
We don't,
We did a right. This was done a long time ago, so what we did was do a COLA. We didn't have to do any increase at all, okay? But we thought that what the fair thing was to do what we did with, but wait, my turn. What we wanted to do was do what we did with every other person and gave them the 1.5% COLA increase. That's what we did. So that's why we said that's what we'll do across the board for right now. There is a time, we do it with negotiations, you should know that. We do comparables, we see what other departments make. Now, maybe that's a time that we need to do that with the town clerk. I think we've said this before, the town clerk and the highway surveyor, but we don't know. And that's where we're at.
Well, I'll give you some information. Quickly going to the internet, and a couple of towns in our area, Rochester for one, Mattapoisett for another. I see where Mattapoisett highway surveyor gets $72,629. Okay, I find where the Rochester highway surveyor gets $77,000 plus. The Lakeville town clerk gets over $62,000.
What's the credentials?
So it doesn't seem to me that it's all that high. And you spoke about being fair, Mr. Chico, and that's what I want to do. I say, let's be fair. They've asked for a minor increase above, and you've knocked it down saying, 1.5%. That's not reasonable. That's my question. So I make the motion that we go with the requests of the town clerk and the highway surveyor for their pay, and we fund the additional cost, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. That would be my motion.
Could I respond also to Charles? We don't set the salary of the town, of any elected official. The salary is requested by the elected official. Now, hold on for a second, let me finish.
No, I'm just going to respond to that.
Hold on, let me finish. What happens is that the Finance Committee reviews it, the Board of Selectmen review it, we make our recommendations. Right? That's why the moderator said, if anybody has an issue with it, put a hold on it, and you're putting a hold on it. That's how it works.
That's right.
So there's no, so if you want to amend it, if you want to amend it to the other salary, amend it.
I have.
If you, okay, so then we have to vote on that.
I just want to respond to you, Charlie. Can I just respond to you?
The internet's a wonderful thing, and I think it's great that you look those things up. But again, you have to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. Are the miles of the roadways the same? Is there an engineering degree involved? Those are all things that you need to look at. So I'm not disagreeing that I'm not disagreeing that their wealth of knowledge in the town is of value to us. What I'm saying is there needs, if you're going to do this the right way, then that's what you need to compare it to. That's all.
And what I'm comparing it to is that these other people have the position of town highway surveyor, town clerk. There is no requirement for an elected official to have any type of education. It doesn't matter.
Right, but we don't
Whether
know
or not a person has it is irrelevant. The position is the town highway surveyor. That position is by law. It's an elected official by law. And if you want to say this, let's look at your own salary, okay? Let's look at your own salary and just say in Globe South, the region of the Globe South, which is all Plymouth County, town of Freetown, and northern Norfolk County. Last year, you and Avon were tied for the highest paid selectman. So let's look at it that way also. These people are asking for a minor adjustment. They aren't asking for $20,000. They aren't asking for 50% pay raise. They're asking for this. You shot it down. You shot it down. And my thing is, I don't think that that's fair when you compare them to other elected officials doing the
Charlie,
same
can
job.
I say something? Let's talk about the people who are paying the bills here. Not you and I. You seem to be pretty free with Freetown's money. The people who are paying the bills in this town average 35 grand a year, Charlie. Two of them, 70. When people ask for raises, doesn't mean you get them. And let me tell you this, people in America aren't getting raises. Municipalities and governments get them. These people are being treated very, very fairly, in my estimation.
Okay? That's what's wrong with this country.
I'm not going to argue with you about what's right or wrong.
And the thing is that Freetown economically is on the higher end, it's beyond the median income. Look, check it out.
My
Check it
job
out.
is to control the budget, not to throw the money away.
Well, wait a minute, but there is gonna be expenses, right? And when you got your pay raise, you looked at that, and no, you did.
Charlie, we haven't got a pay raise in 3 years.
You got a pay raise last year.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did.
2 years ago.
Yes, you did. No, last year.
You want to do the job?
No.
Why don't you come up here and do the job, okay?
Well, don't get that way. I'm here as
I mean, this is
I'm here-
crazy. This
no,
is crazy.
Wait, no, I'm here as a legislator, okay? The town meeting is a legislation,
Right, so did you make your motion? Let's call the
Yeah,
motion.
all right.
Hold on, actually, that's a good, he made the motion, but it hasn't been seconded yet.
Anybody seconding it?
No, but somebody has to second his, we actually shouldn't have had any of that conversation without the second. Does anybody?
No, he's-
Okay, now it has a second.
You already had a motion in a second, that's.
Oh, I didn't hear the second, I only heard the
No,
motion.
on the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, on the first, you're right, on the
We
first
had a
one.
motion in a second already.
I was listening to
You,
Charlie.
you've got to say who you are first.
Oh,
That mic's not working.
my name is Bill Hugh from Bay Shores. I was listening to Charlie and I agreed with him. As you all remember, last winter, what we went through as far as snow removal and stuff like that, I think that the highway department, just for that alone, what the job they did, they should get a bonus without a pay raise. But in general, if you compare our town to Taunton, for example, some others around here, and the potholes that we have to deal with all the time, and this, I mentioned this a few years ago, it's a blessing to live in Freetown, Summit, in terms of the job that the highway department does. This has nothing to do with my relationship with Chuck or anybody else, because I don't really have one. I think that $200 or $300 is ridiculous. It's an insult, really. And I feel that that department or the town surveyor should get a substantial increase in salary. And Mr. Baumgartner, I believe his name is, the selectman, asked who pays the bills. Of course we pay the bill, taxpayers pay the bill. But the taxpayers should also be offered an opportunity to pay the bills and to shoot it down if they don't think it's right. I don't think that the government, the finance committee or the selectmen should really have the final say in that. I think it should be the townspeople. Anyhow, that's how I feel. I think that he should get accolades for the job that he does in his town and has been doing. And that's my bottom line.
Is there any further discussion before we vote on the amendment? And then, all right, so we'll vote on the amendment. If that fails, we'll go back to the main motion. The amendment that's on the floor is to pay the town clerk and the highway surveyor the amounts that were requested and to fund that at the amounts that were requested. Is there any further discussion on that amendment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yay.
Okay, I'm going to ask to have this one counted because I don't believe that that was 2/3. I'm sorry, we don't actually, that was a motion to amend, so that doesn't require the 2/3. I'm just going to ask to take the vote one more time. The motion to amend, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yay.
That's still too hard to count. Please count, sorry, please do. I still can't tell if that's a majority or not. So if you are voting yes for the amendment, please raise up your ticket. Okay, all who are opposed, please raise your ticket. This is to the amendment again. All who are opposed, please raise your ticket. All right, we had 18 votes in favor of the amendment and 11 votes against, so the amendment is adopted. Now we'll go back to the main motion, and this one is the one that will require the 2/3 vote. So the main motion now will be to pay the town clerk $51,392 a year, the highway surveyor $64,657 a year, and the tree warden $20.48 a year, and to, I'm sorry, an hour. That would be really bad if that were here. An hour. And to appropriate the amounts of money that would be necessary to do that change. Is there any discussion now on the main motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the main motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
That did sound like 2/3 to me. Does anybody challenge the fact that that was 2/3 in favor?
Take a count.
Okay, well, we'll take the count. So if you are a yes on the main motion, please raise your tickets. Okay, if you are a no on the main motion, please raise your ticket. Okay, we had 23 votes in favor and 8 votes against, so it does pass by a 2/3 majority. It is adopted. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $1,702.00 as is necessary to supplement the personnel cost of the Board of Selectmen budget as amended for the fiscal year 2016 and/or take any action relative thereto. This is submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommends.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 4 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 4 is adopted unanimously. Article 5, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $8,000.00 to repair and maintain town-owned buildings, grounds, and vehicles, including any costs and expenses incidental and related thereto, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen.
Recommends.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 5 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 5 is adopted unanimously. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $7,000.00 to remove dead and/or hazardous trees from the Plummer Burial Ground and/or take any action relative thereto. So submitted by the Cemetery Commission and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommends.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt Article 6 as read. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Mary Brown, 23 South Main Street. My question is, will all the debris and cut trees be removed at the time of cutting?
Kevin Damaris, member of the Freetown Cemetery Commission. The answer is that's what we'd like to have happen, quite honestly. And that's what we intend to have happen.
Okay, because it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened this last time, and I think you're aware of why. We're waiting for the ground to freeze so that when we drive over your property, we don't damage your property.
Kevin?
Yes,
Could you talk? You can't be heard up here.
I apologize. Usually everybody tells me to quiet down. We had some trees taken down, a couple of dangerous trees that come down, and unfortunately, the easiest access to that site is through an adjoining property. Otherwise, we'd have to set up on South Main Street, close down traffic, and it's just not practical. So, you're right, Mary. There were trees taken down, and we're still waiting for those to be removed. But out of respect for yourself and for the property that you own, we did not want to go over it. And I think it was discussed with your husband also that we shouldn't be driving over the property while we can cause ruts. So we're going to wait till it freezes. The hope is that we get this appropriation, we get the trees taken down this fall, which is where we're in now, but before the hard winter hits. And what's important to note is most of these trees are going to have to be climbed, which is why this number might seem a little excessive. But this is actually less than what the original price that we had gotten when we started putting out feelers, just to get an idea of what to ask for in an appropriation. But these trees have to be climbed, and if we let them degrade and die even further, it becomes more of an issue for the person climbing the trees. Additionally, we're going into the end of hurricane season, blizzard season. Some trees have already snapped off at the top. We don't need any more damage. If anybody takes a walk in that cemetery, you'll see that there's tree damage everywhere, from headstones to the old rails to the old granite posts. And quite honestly, we have to do a better job of maintaining our cemeteries. So I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, I understand an arborist has designated which trees are to be removed, and I know you're spraying today that marking some of those trees. And I hope that it's different than the past experience when a person has gone in and cut trees that they wanted to and not necessarily there's been any designation. And I wondered what safeguards are going to be in place, because when the trees have been cut in the past, they've damaged monuments with total disregard for some of them. I'm not saying all the time, but they're damaged monuments and that historic monuments in that cemetery as a result of the cutting. And I would like be sure that they take every precaution. And I don't know where and how those are going to be repaired in the future. So I don't know.
Well, maybe you can make a motion to increase the cemetery commission's budget next time, and we'll have money for that. And I appreciate that, Mary. You're right. In the past, we've had volunteers who've gone in on their own time and made a best effort attempt to take out as many trees and dead trees and brush as possible. And to Mary's point, she's right. We can't always rely on volunteers. We can't always rely on these people to have, let's just say, best practices. You know, they try their best. Which is why we've gone out to an arborist to identify, which is why we've contacted our tree warden to help identify the problem trees, and which is why that we're going to require that when these trees come down, they're done with care, they're climbed, they're not just let to fall, they're going to be lowered down by ropes, and that the subsequent debris will be taken off site immediately, once we have property owner's permission to go on the property. So, and as you know, Mary, anytime you want to give me a call and express your concerns, please reveal it.
It's been a mess.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the Cemetery Commission has done, and I'm, even prior to me getting on board, but I think the Cemetery Commission has done a good job at identifying some of these areas, trying to approach it in a more professional manner. You know, we put mowing out to bid, with stuff like that, to maintain. We have to maintain these things. Not only are they historically significant, these are where our loved ones are, whether they died 200 years ago or whether they died last week. So I think it's important. I've been on the Cemetery Commission for several years now, and I can tell you that everyone on the board, there's 3 of us, we all have that same mission. So I would appreciate, folks, if we got some support on this so that we can continue our mission. Thank you.
Any other discussion on Article 6?
I'll Chase Road. If you're going to go on somebody's property, you wait till the weather to get cold so you don't make ruts, and if you're going to go on somebody's property, do you still have to have somebody climb the trees, or can they just go and cut them?
good question, Paul, but you're right. We have to still have somebody climb it. Unfortunately, being where they are, that cemetery is surrounded by a stone wall, which has already suffered natural degradation over time and trees falling on them. And I would encourage people to just take a walk down there. I mean, you can park along the side of the road and take a look in there. To Mary's point, it needs attention, and this is part of that. So we have to make sure they come down right, cut them down in pieces, lower them by rope, and get them off the site quickly.
All right, seeing nobody else, we'll take the vote. All in favor of Article 6?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 6 is adopted unanimously. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000.00 for the purpose of supplementing the collection and disposal expense budget for single-stream recycling costs and/or take any action relative thereto. So submitted by the Board of Health and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the article as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 7 is unanimous. Article 8, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $30,268.00 for the purpose of supplementing the educational assessment budget for Old Colony based on the fiscal year 16 enrollment of students and/or take any action relative thereto. So submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 8 as read. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 8 is adopted unanimously. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $3,632.20 for the purpose of supplementing the transportation assessment budget for Old Colony based on the final fiscal year 16 annual contract for transportation services and/or take any action relative thereto. So submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 9 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 9 is adopted unanimously. Article 10, to see if the town will vote in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 30B, Section 12, Clause B, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a contract with Clean Rentals, Inc. for the benefit of the Highway Department, Transfer Station, Building Department, and Water Department for uniform services for a period exceeding 3 years, that period being July 9th, 2014 through July 9th, 2019, and/or take any action relative thereto. So submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
No recommendation.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 10 as read. Is there any discussion?
You know, a couple of these articles, very understandable, easy to digest. There was one that went by a few minutes ago that I think somebody should have been here to explain what it was. But in this particular case, what uniforms are we talking about and how much are we talking about? I mean, clean rental, what are they cleaning for? Is this uniforms? I don't see any uniforms. What are we paying for and how much is it? Simple as that. I'd like to get an explanation.
Hello? By the collective bargaining unit, it's one of the things that we have to do. We have to provide uniforms and we have to provide cleaning. In this case, we're increasing the years from 3 to 5, and we need town approval at that point. What else do you need to know? We need to provide uniforms to the town employees. It's part of the collective bargaining agreement that we have with them, and they have to be cleaned. So we have this company, and we want to go for 5 years instead of the 3 years.
Well, when did the last time they cleaned any so-called uniforms? And how
They clean them on a regular basis, but we need to, it's a contract which needs to increase from 3 years to 5 years.
Who wears the
Highway Department, Water Department, Transfer Station, and the town custodian.
I go to the transfer station every week, I never saw a uniform. I mean, and how much does this cost?
If you want to ask more questions, you have to come up so everybody else can hear you.
Are you going to go to the microphone, or are you all set?
I think we read it, I'm out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on Article 10?
I didn't get an answer yet. Cost.
The cost is part of the contract.
You've got to come up to the microphone. That's what I told you a second ago.
Do you know what the contract cost is?
I heard what you said, and I don't totally agree with what you said. I have yet in my mind, I go to the transfer station every week, I see the highway department around town all week long, and the water department, I see Kevin or whoever comes to the house to check the meters and that. I never saw a uniform, and even if I did, I want to know how much is this costing? There's no line item for this.
It's about there was a line item. It was in the original budget when we did that, okay? And the cost per week is about $100. That includes the uniform and the cleaning, $100 per week. And that's for everybody.
Okay, good, I got a number, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Article 10? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 10 is adopted unanimously. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to allocate funds in the amount of $76,003.65 from the fiscal year 2016 appropriation voted at the annual town meeting of June 15, 2015, in Article 18, for the purpose of funding the first-year cost items contained in the collective bargaining agreements between the town of Freetown and the Freetown Town Hall, Library, Highway Department, Public Employees, Local, Union 1144, Freetown Full-Time Firefighters Association, 911 Signal Operators, Public Employees, Local Union 1144, in the amounts and categories as on file with the town clerk's office, and/or take any action relative thereto. And just as a note, this money was already appropriated in the spring. You're just moving it from one account to another. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee?
Recommends.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommends.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 11 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 11 is adopted unanimously. For Article 12, I'm going to read the article, but there is an amendment, so when the article's over, we'll wait for the person making the amendment to make a motion before we go on. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $1,720,000.00 to undertake repairs and/or reconstruction to the bridge on Locust Street at the junction of Mill Street and to the 1886 single arch bridge on South Main Street, including design and construction costs and all other costs and expenses incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said sum pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, Subsection 4, or any other applicable statutory authority, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute any documents, enter into any agreements, and take any action necessary to effectuate the purposes of this article, and/or take any action relative thereto. So it's submitted by the Highway Surveyor and requires a 2/3 vote. Finance Committee?
Recommends.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Mr. Moderator, Chuck McEnbury, Kearney Road. I move that Article 12 be adopted in the amount of $925,000.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 12 in the amount of $925,000. Is there any discussion?
Well, now Chase Road, I'd like to know exactly what it encompasses. I mean, it says $900,000, what is it gonna do?
$925,000 will get the Locust Street Bridge. This is just the first phase of both construction projects. Locust Street is basically, it's a steel I-beam bridge. There's 6 steel I-beams that support that bridge. That was built in 1960. It has had zero maintenance since the day it was built. That will do the engineering and the sandblasting and the painting of those beams. On the South Main Street project, all that is going to encompass is from the water line down. We have a problem with scouring, which basically means erosion from the water line down. It's compromised the footings of the bridge. If we don't take action, the longer we wait, the more we jeopardize the bridge. There is no intentions on shutting down the bridge at all. All it is will be work that is done in the water, basically shoring up either side of the bridge, the supports.
Just to further add, this would include engineering and construction costs with a contingency in there for inflation. Again, just remember, this is just allowing the Board of Selectmen to go out and do a short-term treasury note on just what we need, and we're asking for the $925.
Last week when we discussed with the Selectmen, the Freetown Historical Commission, it was a very good discussion, and I'm pleased to see that this is the first phase and there will be more discussion before it gets more extensive. However, even though this is the first phase, this bridge is on the National Register of Historic Places, and so for permitting and so forth, Mass Historic will have to be contacted. Whereas Richmond Road Bridge was not on the National Register, so that is a difference. Okay.
Yep, since that meeting, the Board of Selectmen meeting, we had a meeting with Chuck and this Board of Selectmen, and we came to these figures. We also did talk about your role and the Historical Commission's role with this. Once we have the engineering study done, Jim Noyes, who you've worked with before on the Elm Street Bridge, will be in contact, and you'll work with him again on the South Main Street Bridge.
Okay, is there any further discussion on Article 12? So just as a reminder, the motion is to adopt Article 12 at $925,000. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 12 is adopted unanimously. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to supplement the amount raised from sewer enterprise revenues for fiscal year 16, previously voted in Article 15 of the annual town meeting of June 15, 2015, by the sum of $7,000 to be allocated to the general fund for the purpose of funding increases in indirect costs previously appropriated in the omnibus budget, Article 1 of the annual town meeting of June 15, 2015, and/or take any action relative thereto. And you see the amounts are listed in the explanation of the article. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners, and it requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Motion to adopt is read.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt Article 13 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 13 is adopted unanimously. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $50,000.00 from retained earnings in the Sewer Enterprise Fund to supplement sewer operating expenses for purchased sewer services and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the article as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to supplement the amount raised from water enterprise revenues for fiscal year 16, previously voted in Article 13 of the annual town meeting of June 15, 2015, by the sum of $16,696.00 to be allocated to the general fund for the purpose of funding increases in indirect costs previously appropriated in the omnibus budget, Article 1 of the annual town meeting of June 15, 2015, and/or take any action relative thereto. And again, the amounts are in the explanation of the article. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 15 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 15 is adopted unanimously. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $50,000 and 0 cents from retained earnings in the Water Enterprise Fund to supplement water operating expenses for purchased water and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 16 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 16 is adopted unanimously. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to transfer from Water Enterprise retained earnings the sum of $50,000 and 0 cents for the purpose of funding an emergency reserve fund within the Water Enterprise Fund and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
The Board of Selectmen?
Recommends.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the article as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 17 is adopted unanimously. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $202,539.00 to the Water Enterprise Fund for the purpose of subsidizing the principal of $149,438 and interest of $53,101 on the Serial Steakhouse note issued April 3rd, 2009 for the water pump station and/or take any action relative thereto. It was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
Recommend.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommends.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 18 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 18 is adopted unanimously. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to amend its vote taken under Article 18 of the annual town meeting held March 8, 1969, by reducing the number of members of the Conservation Commission from 7 to 5, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Conservation Commission and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
No recommendation.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommends.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 19 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 19 is adopted unanimously. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 11, Section 11.19 of its protective bylaws by striking in subsection B the following text. 5 years from date of issue, a public hearing will be held to ensure use is the same, and inserting in place thereof the following text. Permits issued hereunder shall renew automatically in 5 years with the written approval of the building inspector. It shall be the obligation of the property owner to request such approval of the building inspector. No later than 90 days before the date of renewal, the building inspector shall deny the renewal if he should deem the use is no longer compliant with this bylaw and/or the terms of the original special permit. If renewed, a public hearing will be held 10 years from the original date of issue to ensure use is still the same, at which time a new permit may be issued. New permits issued after a 10-year hearing are subject to the 5-year and 10-year renewal requirements that the original permit was subjected to in perpetuity. And by striking in subsection C the following text. 5 years from date of issue, a public hearing will be held to ensure use is the same. And inserting in place thereof the following text. Permits issued hereunder shall renew automatically in 5 years with the written approval of the building inspector. It shall be the obligation of the property owner to request such approval of the building inspector. No later than 90 days before the date of renewal, the building inspector shall deny the renewal if he should deem the use is no longer compliant with this bylaw and/or the terms of the original special permit. If renewed, a public hearing will be held 10 years from the original date of issue to ensure use is still the same, at which time a new permit may be issued. New permits issued after a 10-year hearing are subject to the 5-year and 10-year renewal requirements that the original permit was subjected to in perpetuity, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Zoning Board of Appeals and requires a 2/3 vote. Finance Committee.
No recommendation.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommends.
We will now hear the report of the Planning Board.
I'll make it brief, Mr. Moderator. After a duly advertised public hearing, the Planning Board recommended for adoption the zoning change.
Moderator.
We need a motion first.
Motion to adopt is read.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt as read. Sorry.
My question would be this: would the property owner be notified that their permit is about to lapse? Or is it incumbent on them to know?
Your answer's coming.
Repeat that, I'm trying to hear you. Who would the property owner be notified that their permit is about to lapse?
My name is Jim Frakes, I'm the ZBA chairman. It will be up to the building inspector to notify the person who's got the accessory apartment.
That's fine, but I just don't see it here. Where is it in another section?
No, it's not in this. We're only changing the requirements that they don't have to come before us
Right.
again. And it's up to the building inspector to.
So in the present law, is there a notification?
Right now, it's the burden is on the person with the building, with the house, to come before. What happens is the building inspector, right now, after 5 years, will talk to the tenant and see if the use is the same.
So the building inspector has to go out and investigate?
He will go out and interview the homeowner and investigate if the use is the same.
So the building inspector will be notified?
Yes.
By filling out?
Yes.
That's my question. Thank you.
Just in case anybody didn't hear, the question was, who would be responsible for notifying folks? The answer was that the building inspector will do that, and currently that's how it's been going. Is there any other discussion on Article 20? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Article 20 is adopted unanimously. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to accept as a town way the roadway entitled Kendall Lane in its entirety for a length of 2,392.13 feet, as heretofore laid out by the Board of Selectmen and shown on a plan entitled Street Acceptance Plan, dated October 6, 2015, prepared by RIM Engineering Company, Inc., on file with the town clerk, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire on behalf of the town by gift, purchase, or eminent domain the fee to and/or easements in said Kendall Lane for all purposes for which public ways are used in the town of Freetown, and any drainage, utility, access, and/or other easements related thereto. And further, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute any documents, enter into any agreements, and take any action necessary to effectuate the purposes of this article, or take any other action relative thereto. So submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
No recommendation.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 21 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 21 is adopted unanimously. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to accept as a town way the roadway entitled Pinecone Lane in its entirety for a length of 749.35 feet, as heretofore laid out by the Board of Selectmen and shown on a plan entitled Street Acceptance Plan, dated September 15, 2015, prepared by Prime Engineering, Inc., on file with the town clerk, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire on behalf of the town by gift, purchase, eminent domain, the fee to and/or easements in said Pinecone Lane for all purposes for which public ways are used in the town of Freetown, and any drainage, utility, access, and/or other easements related thereto. And further, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute any documents, enter into any agreements, and take any action necessary to effectuate the purposes of this article, or take any other action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen and requires a majority vote. Finance Committee?
No recommendation.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommends.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 22 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 22 is adopted unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
the board would like to withdraw Article 23.
Okay, Article 23 has been withdrawn by the Board of Selectmen. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Have a good night and a nice Halloween.